Hi, everybody. I'm Alana Campbell from You Have a Life Plan, and I'm just continuing on from what we started yesterday when we were looking at how astrology and the various different modalities can support a walk-in to integrate into this life. And I find it very interesting that in Soul Contract, yesterday was December 13th, and that corresponds to the Hangman. And the Hangman is hanging here, not because he's in any trouble, but because he's surrendering. And today is the 14th, according to Soul Contract. Well, it's December 14th, and the 14th is tied to the death card. And the death card is also not bad. It's about allowing the old to die so that the new can come in. So I find it very interesting that I'm presenting this today. And I'm going to go back and forth between the presentation and just myself, just so I can show you some things a little bit more close up. So I'm going to go to the presentation right now. Take you to the start. Will allow me. Okay, so this little brief presentation is about integrating the walk-in soul. So yesterday we spoke with Valerie and she held space for me. And this is the benefit of group work, is you have somebody to witness you. When you say, this is my truth, and they say, that sounds right, that sounds accurate. It gives you permission to step in feeling supported into a new layer of being, because if you stay the way you are and you're suffering, that's not good. But if you feel like, I don't feel any support to make this big change, like you will hear that I am going to start using this new birth time and date as my new birth date. And when I said that to my husband, he thinks I have a mental health issue, which is, I do have history of mental health problems, but it's not really that kind to draw that conclusion, when really it's just my soul has been doing interesting things. And in order to align with my new soul, this is what I have to do with all of my work. You have to push it out into the matrix to make it real. And so I'm somebody who can process things really quickly. I have a lot of 20-2s in my soul contract. So that's a gift that I can carry, that I can move through things quickly. And then eventually people catch up and, they didn't mind my new name eventually, or my son's new name, and they won't mind my new birth date eventually. So the first thing I just wanted to show you, and I'm not going to show you all the charts again, but I want to show you what I have learned since yesterday, now that I'm allowing myself to accept who I am and how I've changed. So if I stop the share screen here, so you can see a little bit closer. So I used to be a Scorpio sun sign, which is water, and I'm stepping into a Taurus sun sign, which is earth. And I had been wearing a pendant. So not this pendant. This is the earth symbol, but the pendant changes color based on the element. So I was wearing the pink version, or rose, and that stands for unconditional love and the theta brainwave state, so where all the dreams come in. And I was having so many downloads of dreams, and it was affecting my health. And usually I can ask to have those things turned off, but I wasn't able to. It was just coming and coming and coming and coming. And it's interesting that at 2:30 a.m., which is the birth time of this walk-in, I just opened this up and took it out, because this is a pendant you can, exchange based on what element you need. There's many other pendants that go in this. And it just went quiet, and all the vision stopped, and I could sleep. And I was so grateful. And now I am wearing the earth sign for Taurus, and it's helping. I take it out when I feel like it's too much, because it's a lot to handle, but it's helping me align to this new way of being. So I wanted to share that. Okay, so you don't see my astrology wheel now, you see me, but that's okay. So I used to have a gibbous moon, which was all about gunning for enlightenment. It says here, you're very close to achieving your goal. And that was a soul that was only going to live 15 years. So yeah, she was very close to achieving her goal of crossing over. Now I have a waxing crescent moon. And what's really interesting about this is there's kind of two versions of the waxing crescent. One is before 60 degrees and one is after. And before 60 degrees, you hang on to the past, and mine is like 62 degrees. So I don't have to hang on to the past. I see enough of the future that I can basically dream and go for it. There's a long road ahead. I know what I'm building, and I'm really excited about that shift. So my ascendant is now I know. So instead of coming across as I am and appearing selfish and feeling bad about myself, I can come across with I know. And you'll see as I go through each of the houses how this is going to play out for me. So in my first house, I now have Saturn, which is truth. And Saturn is Aquarian in the first house. But so Saturn knows, I know truth. And then I also have, I don't know where she went, but Black Moon Lilith is somewhere. Oh, there, she likes to hide. Oh, she's behind here. See? She gets exiled. I've got Black Moon Lilith, and her sign is Pisces, I believe. So I believe exiled and that she has a right to exist. We have a right to be whole, and who I am. In my natal chart, I had Chiron in there, and Chiron is all about making the same mistake again and again. It's very painful. And this is about claiming what I know. I know these things. I know truth, and she deserves to exist. So those are two things. When we step into the second house, I find it very interesting because I have Venus and Mercury in there. And Venus is the ruler of my sun, my new sun sign, which is Taurus, and Mercury is associated with the tarot card, the Magician, which is my husband's numerology. And my numerology is not the Empress, but it is associated with Venus. And this feels like a match to me, that he is the Magician to us, and I am the Empress who does and take care of the kids. And yes, I have a business and it does very well, but my job is to be home with my kids, and my future will come later, and it's now as well. But this feels like a harmony for our family to accept that in the second house, which is what we value, what we own. Another thing that's really interesting is my first two children are Taurus, and I now have a Taurus sun, so I align with them. The sun, every planet progresses. So I continued to have a Taurus sun through progression, children, and then it progressed into Gemini, born, and I just about my family. So I have my son, the Hierophant, which is what I am, because I don't want him going down my path. And then my daughter, who's also a Taurus, who's the Lovers. And then my last child, the High Priestess, who's a Gemini. I just love these cards. They're so beautiful. I am, as you'll see at the end, but I love these cards too, is progressing from the Hierophant, who is grounded and intuitive and right, a good teacher, which describes my son pretty well, to Justice, who is fighting for what's right and balancing her self-care needs. So you have her fighting here with the wisdom and then balancing her care, which is very important for all mothers. And I'm happy to progress to that next level where I speak my truth. I balance whether it is true, because I lie in the bed that I speak, and I take care of myself. So that is just a little side bit. Okay, so my sun, like the planet, my walk-in sun ends up in the third house of messages. So I have messages to share. So I have, as Taurus, I have messages to share from my spirit. And then in Gemini, let me just take a look at the chart because it's kind of small in there. In Gemini is where I have my North Node. So I had a Gemini North Node. Or sorry, a Gemini South Node. I had a Gemini South Node. And so now my North Node ends up on the other end, which is in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is I see. It's in the 10th house. So I'm going to share publicly what I see. And it also contains in the 10th house, the part of fortune, which is that I could be supported in this way. So you'll find when we get to the 11th house, I don't have any planets there. And that has kind of been the story of my life. I'm not very supported by friends. The thing about empty houses is planets will travel in and they'll be there and then they'll be gone, and they'll travel in and they'll be gone. And I have to get used to that. My friends are not always going to support me, but publicly, I'm supported to share what I see. So that is nice to see. Okay. And then here, my moon becomes Cancer, I feel. So I see, I know, I feel. And it's in the house of creativity. So I kind of spoke to this in the first talk, where it was kind of in an exiled position, wanting to be alone. And now it's like I can have fun and be creative. And yeah, sometimes I do need to be alone, but I can also have fun with my kids and it's just a nicer place to be. And then kind of a sore point is the sixth house. It's health. It's also unequal relationships. For me, it's teacher-student relationships, and I have Mars here in the fall, as I mentioned, in Cancer, and so I'm going to continue to seek out education. I'm probably going to continue to get burned, but c'est la vie. It's my life. Um, so the seventh house here, I now have. This is where I had a lot of action. My son was here before. The sun in the sky, not my son, and I've got Chiron here, which I've learned is kind of like repeating bad mistakes over and over again. And which I've learned is your karmic descendant. So my new descendant is Leo, but my karmic descendant is Virgo, which to me means that I'm going to share what I see. I'm going to share what I know. It's in the seventh house. So they're going to be Virgo-like people who are going to ask me for details. And it happens all the time. And I don't have them. It's just, this is my truth. This is my download. This is what I channeled. Here you go. This is what I have. And know that these people, I analyze what you're saying, and I don't believe you. And, you know, I have a master's in research, conducted research for 10 years. And quite frankly, I've sat with people who are dying and people who are on assisted housing, practically homeless. And it doesn't matter what the research says. Their life matters. Their family matters. That's why I moved into this. I was going to be a counselor. I was going to go through clinical psychology, but you know, you have to jump through all these hoops to learn their way of doing it. And it excludes all the ancient wisdom and stuff that actually I think heals. Like I've been through all kinds of therapy, all kinds of pharmotherapy, and the only thing that has helped me is actually this kind of work. So, so they can analyze me all they want. That is my curse, and it just makes me stronger to understand where they're coming from. When I moved to the eighth house, so the eighth house of kind of, it says endings and beginnings, but life and death issues. I have Jupiter in Libra, which means I'm going to be expanding my knowledge in that area, but trying to do it in a balanced way, which is good. It's good to keep Jupiter in check. And then the ninth house of faith, where I have Pluto, I transform, and it's in Scorpio, which is my old sun sign. So I maintain who I used to be, that I see deeply, I transform people. I just do it in a much less painful way. What I find very interesting is my current sun sign and my last sun sign end up ruling two houses. And what used to be my rising and my ascendant and my descendant disappeared. And it's not that they disappeared, it's just the shape of the pie. They didn't get a house. So it's like, that is just the past. This whole, I'm a warrior who's trying to get along and bring others along, which was paining me. Traumatic situation. I tried to bring everyone with me, save everybody. And it was so traumatizing that I just couldn't do it because I'm not meant to. I meant to be the Scorpio who I used to be, and transform and see and be the Taurus who is grounded and who can teach and who, I don't know, everything else that's in that chart. So as I mentioned, my 11th house, my friends, empty. It's not that I don't have friends. I've got great friends. It's just as I grow, a lot of them dump me because they just don't understand me anymore, and I can't speak their language anymore. And it just gets too hard because I just keep growing. And I have wonderful friends who understand everything that I do, and we exchange modalities and talk all the time, but they're busy. A lot of them are moms, or a lot of them have really great practices that they're running. So we're there for each other when we can be. But a lot of the time I am alone in the world, and that's okay. And then the 12th house here is where my friend Uranus and Neptune hang out. So I wrote an article about Neptune and how it blinds us. So, and Uranus is always trying to break the system. Genius. Genius. And I carry it. It's my rising planet, the first planet that crosses the horizon. And it used to be with my sun. So It's still there. And it's in the sign of Capricorn. I use, and this is one of the signs I really have trouble with, people who use other people. And I'm sure it can be meant in another way, but in business, there's a lot of using of others, a lot of ownership of others, and I dislike it. I couldn't make it in the corporate world, not because I'm not skilled. I'm quite skilled. I'm quite liked in the corporate world, but I feel sick being around people who are, treating others badly. I've seen people treat others so badly. It's horrible what happens out there. And so I would rather be blind to what is happening there and do my work. And I know sometimes I'm going to want to break the system, and I'm not going to see all the impacts of my recommendations. So that is up to you guys who are living in that system to do what feels right for you. Don't do it because I said so. I'm just sharing what I see and what I know. And I do hope that that gets transformed because, and there could be daddy issues in there too. I believe my father is a Capricorn, not use, but he is definitely, go back to the mainstream. Very disappointed that the more education and knowledge I gain, the less money I make because money doesn't matter to me. All I care about is saving lives because, quite frankly, I'm already dead. So, um, I'm just here to do what I can to keep the kids alive because I know that not every 15-year-old who takes her life is going to get to be me. And I think that is very sad for families who don't even realize that their kids could be taking their lives and who are going to blame the system. I heard someone say, "Oh yeah, grade 5 is trying to take his life. We need to open the schools again." This isn't here, obviously, and it's not the school's problem if a child is trying to take their life. That's a family issue, and we need to start changing our priorities if this is what's happening because that is not okay ever. It's never okay for a child to think, "I'm going to take my life." Like that is really sad, and people need to wake up, in my opinion. And that's why I do the work I do, because there has been so much death in my family by suicide, uh, and alcoholism and abandonment, and it's gross, and I don't want it anymore. So there you go. That's a little bit on me. Okay, let me see if I can share the screen and show you my other thoughts here. Okay, so this is the chart I was talking about. And then when we move to human design, I had to really think about this because I still feel like a projector, which is my original design, but I can make room for this manifestor. And I'm going to really have to test to see, can I push like a manifestor? So the difference between the two is the projector has to wait for someone to recognize her skills and invite her. The projector pushes, makes it happen, and leaves because both have this open, the sacral. They don't have the energy to do everything. They need to set it all up and go. What I think is really beautiful about this is who's coming in, the feminine energy, more projectors. This is who's phasing out, the masculine energy, the manifestors. It's old news. My grandmother was a projector, and all of her children were manifestors. And projectors love and want to help so much. And manifestors want you to get the hell away from them. So this is why she's so special to me. I have a picture of her here. I have a lot of her stuff. You can't really see her, but I have a lot of her stuff here. She was a writer like me, because I feel her pain. I heard her stories. Like, she just wanted to love them, and they don't see that. They don't. Manifestors don't see, unfortunately, sometimes. So here in the middle, I feel like I have the yin yang. I feel like I have the tree of life, the severity and the mercy, and in the middle, the knowledge. And I gain the heart, as I mentioned. So I'm going to play with this, and I'm going to embrace the skills I had, the skills I've gained, the skills that they create together, and see. Of course, it's going to be 7 and 2 work to do, single definition, which means I can connect with myself without any support from anybody else. I don't need anybody else. But sometimes I'm going to go out my head, and sometimes I'm going to go out my body in terms of my needs. And maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay to be spirit and body. I mean, isn't that what we're here for? So I have this polarity in me, masculine and feminine, spirit and body. So it feels good for me to do that. The Gene Keys, which builds off of this, I have no problems embracing more gifts and challenges on the Gene Keys. And the Soul Contract, I had already embraced the new name and was already working with the old name. So there's no change there. And then this is the numerology. And as Val spoke to, it makes sense, and I said earlier, to move from the Hierophant to the Justice. And again, you see, this is the masculine energy. I know, I have the intuition. I'm the teacher. I'm judgmental, to the feminine. Justice is a female. And she is just as strong as he is, but she balances. And I think this is a big thing for us right now, because I think children need to come home. Um, we probably need to close the schools, because these kids are being programmed like mad in all these societal institutions, and it's destroying them. I've seen, having my kids in online learning, I've seen what they're being taught and how they're being taught to. And some of the teachers are very kind, but it's not good, in my opinion. So if the children are coming home to be with the family until they can on their own go out and find, okay, this program is right for me and that teacher is right for me, as a young adult would, the women are going to have to balance and the men are going to have to balance. So everybody's going to have to give a little bit, but it's often the women. So we have the masculine there, who is intuitive, who is grounded, who's that tree, is solid. That is in me. It is in my son. I have a magician husband, and I can be justice, where I fight for what's right. So she is very, she's an activist. She fights for what's right. She makes sure that what she's saying is legit. It's a bed she's willing to lay in, and she's balancing her own self-care needs with the scale. So that's my integration of this new walk-in, which is a long time coming, because I've been her for 27 years and I was the first soul for only 15. And so it's crazy that I carried that with me so long, and it's about time to let her go. So next steps, same as before. If you think you are in crisis, I may not be the person to speak with. You're welcome to reach out to me as a first line to see if I can support you. But I would go to the Center for Love and Enlightenment.net, walk-in integration private sessions, and see what they can do for you. If that doesn't work, come back to me, and there are other people you can speak with. I know a few walk-ins actually, but they know hundreds of walk-ins. Don't feel alone. But if you just want to explore, like, if you think, well, maybe I did have a shift in my life. Maybe I woke up one day and I was different. Maybe I hit my head on a window and I'm different. And let's look at the astrology and the human design. Well, not the soul contract, but the gene keys, the I Ching, the numerology of this new person, and see if that aligns better. Maybe I've grown. And so again, I do healing sessions. I definitely work one-on-one with people, but I'm also offering groups for 2 to 4 people for up to 2 hours, recorded via Zoom. I will create a sufficient amount of charts for you to be able to look at and have. If you want to look at all the modalities, and there's 4 people, it'll probably take multiple sessions, and it's a per session price. But we could just look at one thing and see how it goes. I'm pretty flexible on that. Sliding scale fee is always an option with me. And as I mentioned, the great thing about being in a group is you're not alone. Like, I could tell you that you're fine, but until you see everybody else in the group say, yeah, you're fine, because it's me too. It's all of us. That's why I want to do these group sessions. And also because it's a great way to see, do you want to learn with me? Do you want to learn astrology? Do you want to learn other things? Yeah, so the pricing is there, and there's the link, and I'll put it in the video. And I'm just going to quickly show you my website about the courses. So here you see Decoding Your Astrology Level 1 and 2. I co-taught that, and I hope I will continue to co-teach that, but that we'll see. So those are kind of very foundational astrology courses, packages. And then there's practice sessions, which we're going to encourage our students to practice before we teach them anymore, because there's no point in continuing to pile in knowledge that just fills the brain and nobody knows how to use it. There's a link here. You can see testimonials from our students. I'm very proud of our students, of how far they've come and how much they've progressed. So you can see what an evolution you can have by participating in this course. I've built elective topics to build upon level 1 and level 2, which is tying in the other modalities. So astrology tied into the I Ching, to human design, gene keys, the tree of life, the tarot, the body. So there's many markings on your body for these planets. If you have a symptom, let's say in your left hip, that's Venus. So you can go and look on your chart and go, okay, where is Venus? What is she asking me to do? So you can go back and forth. There's also healing that can be done. to treat an issue, whether it's in your body or in your life. So that's all there for you. I really care about youths, obviously. I don't want them to be killing themselves. So I have a workshop for youths that sits there. There's a link on Hey Young Adults, that gives them some insight into what's really going on. So that's there. And then healing with astrology. So this is what this session was about. You can go here and read it in more detail, but I'll just quickly go through the topics that I've listed, and the number of topics are endless. One is how to transition in this current time. It's a changing time. The other is Kundalini rising. You could destroy your life if you don't know what's going on with you. And some people really don't care. They're quite happy to trigger Kundalini rising in you and then just say, handle it. And there's actually ways to do that with more love. Dark night of the soul is different. Equally, you can destroy your life, but it's more of a depression. Like if I were to make these medical terms, this one would look more like mania. This one would look more like depression. This is more like everybody's left you and it sucks. But it's there, it's life. So as I mentioned, I think the schools should close. I think that teachers should develop their skills and put themselves out there for students to find them. And if there's a match, then do it. But this en masse teaching everybody the same, it's just killing students. Literally, it is killing students. They have breaks at certain times a year because suicide rates are too high if they don't give kids a break. And I don't think that's the way I want my kids to be educated, where like, oh, they just don't want them to kill themselves, so we'll give them a break rather than changing the system. So I'm proposing using, astrology and human design and anything else to even soul contract. I have a whole video on it. It's like an hour long on all the red flags in human design and soul contract to look for in kids. Because as you know, very important to me that kids aren't killing themselves. So looking for sensitivity, looking for feeling pain being in their body, at risk for suicide, learning disabilities, all that kind of stuff. So that's all inside of this. And it's not just for kids, it's for adults too, to understand how do they learn. Like, I don't believe in learning disabilities at all, to be honest. I believe in some things are not right for you. I have articles on this. Some things they don't align with you. That's why you can't learn them, or I don't know, all kinds of things. So you can look for articles on that, or you can ask me and I can send them to you. Mental health and using these modalities in the line with complementary care as needed. Mental health, depression, anxiety, insomnia. I've had all of these and I've cleared them all. Rarely do I take meds, but sometimes I need to take something to help me sleep when it gets too bad. Medical astrology is, like I was saying, looking at parts of our body and going, oh, this hurts. What is my body trying to tell me? Because pain is stuck energy, and stuck energy is trying to tell you something. So I can guide you through that. Empaths, a lot of people say, oh, I'm an empath, blah, 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 blah. They don't realize there's so many ways to be empaths. And so I'd like to show people, okay, you're an empath in this way, and this is how you can protect yourself. And that won't just be astrology, that's other modalities too. Channeling incoming energy for good instead of harm. That's kind of around the Kundalini topic, but it could be anything. It might not be Kundalini rising. It could just be like, I'm really excited today. How do I channel this energy so I don't destroy things? You create or you destroy. The mother-father imprint. So we are going to damage our children in some way, and we have been damaged by our parents in some way. But if we can make that more conscious, we can say, okay, that was the plan. I don't blame my parents really for what I experienced. That was the life path of that 15-year-old. And my new astrology, I feel, doesn't have parents. And that's okay. I mean, it's sad because my parents still exist. And I have contact with them, but there's no love there. There's no caring. There's no knowing of each other. And it's just, it is what it is. The divine masculine and divine feminine, I'm really tired of all these gender norm things because it's destroying the family. People have no idea what a healthy relationship is or how to choose a mate. And so I really want to get at that and looking at who are we really and what do we need? The 29th degree of a sign, the last 3 degrees of a house, and the 27-year club. So I don't know if you know, but it's common for people to take their life around age 27. Kind of interesting that now is 27 years after I took my life in a balsamic moon phase. But this is more tied to the Saturn return, where you evaluate how have you been doing? And if you don't feel like you've been doing too well and you don't want to face adulthood, some people will take their life. And we want to support people to navigate their life with grace and ease. Also, when Saturn goes below the descendant, below the ascendant, and into the dark area, it feels weird. It's like I was so public, and now where is everybody? Same for, there's a human design type. Anybody who has a 6 line, a role model. At age 30, life was crazy and fun, or whatever you call it, and then everything stops for 24 years, and it feels weird. And so, just to bring awareness to that. There's something I wanted to say here. Oh, it's escaping me. Oh, yes. Okay, so in my astrology chart, which I don't have up right now, but I can bring it up here. What I find very interesting is when Saturn meets the IC and the sun and the moon, this is maturity points. So in my first astrology, my natal, my Saturn was in the 5th house. My sun was here. I knew my life purpose really soon. My moon was over here. I didn't learn to care for myself until quite late, and I didn't know my life purpose until later. And quite frankly, I didn't survive beyond here. So it's almost a moot point. All I knew was my life purpose. And if you look at my walk-in, Saturn is here. This is probably about age 6, so I would have been 21-ish because I'm 15, but 6 with the walk-in. That's when I decided to stop killing myself because it wasn't working. And then I'm also knowing my life purpose because I was caring for a woman in a hospital. I was hospitalized for stabbing my wrists with a screwdriver and trying to take pills because life was not good. And I realized that this woman I was sharing a room with had everything I wanted. She had children and she was still cutting her legs, and I just didn't get it. And I realized I can hold space for her, and I did. And I knew this is what I was meant to do, is to hold space for people who they feel like that's what they need to do. And I knew that that wasn't going to get me anywhere. And I just wanted to have a family. And so right here, I know my life purpose. I know who I'm going to be in the world, the IC. And probably, because this would be 7 years, so maybe 6 years later, so 27. Interesting. That comes up again. 25 actually is probably more the right number. That's when I left my partner. That's when I didn't leave. He was cheating or about to cheat. And my grandfather came to me in a vision and said, we had to take him away from you because you were never going to leave. And so you need to take care of yourself. And that was the first time that I started to take care of myself. I got my own space, my own apartment. I didn't have a TV because I don't want a TV. My dad came over and said, you need a TV, and bought me one from the grocery store. I had a friend teach me how to cook. I did whatever I want. I went a little bit manic, learned a lot of spirituality, but it's just so interesting that this new soul wastes no time. Like, so if I'm 25, 26, and I stepped in at 15, I'm 11, right? So 11 years in, she's wasting no time getting all her ducks lined up. And this is who I am and will continue to be. So if I go back here, is there anything else here? Yeah, okay. So you can just bring anything that you've read that you're like, oh, I read this thing about Black Moon Lilith, and I think that means I'm gonna, blah, 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 never find love in my life and stuff like that. Let's give you some clarity on the garbage that's out there and point you to some more high quality stuff. Because there's a lot of good stuff and there's a lot of garbage, and it's just like the internet, right? And so bring what you have and we'll go through that. Conscious speed dating. So this is probably not actually going to be speed dating, but more getting you to understand what you need in a partner and what they need to know about you, so that when you do date, you can say, this is who I am and this is what I need, and you can enter into much better relationships, because I'm really tired of seeing all this drama and people getting really hurt, because I was so hurt my whole life, and I don't wish that on anybody. So surrendering God's will to God's will and accepting the lesson, because it won't go away. So same with me, like holding on to my old astrological chart. The request to step into who I am and the new version of me would be there no matter what. I can extend the pain as long as I want to make everybody else happy, or I can just say, okay, I'm gonna accept the gift or accept the lesson. Conscious relationships. So this is kind of similar to conscious speed dating, but you're already in the relationship. So now we actually have the chart of the other, and we can look at them and say, okay, this is why they are the way they are. When I looked at my husband's chart and understood he had a Aquarius descendant, that's why he does his own thing. I don't know a lot about what he does. It's just he's very independent, doing his own thing. It's in other areas too, but it made me feel better that, we do a lot of things together. We work well as a family, but he's off software developing and I'm off doing this, and it's okay. And so that works for both of us. But it's written that if somebody has that as a descendant, it has to be an unknown understanding that you can work on different things and not have to keep everybody up to date on everything. And who wants to, because we have different interests. Growing with your partner or growing apart, and polyamory. This is about if somebody is spiritually growing and the other one is not, and being hard on the person who's spiritually growing, this will destroy the relationship. So you need to find a way to pull them with you so that you're close enough together, or to say, okay, we're going to stay together whether we have kids or not, or whatever the situation is, if that's your decision. But I need to be open to have love in other areas of my life. I need to be open to have people that I talk to about intimate things that I should talk to you about, but you don't care. If you don't care about those things and you don't want to grow with me, then we need to open it up and have it be okay for me to talk to somebody else about the things that are important to me. And it may destroy your relationship. That's what polyamory is thought to do, but it's a very idealistic concept in that you don't have to make people be who you want them to be. You can find that elsewhere. And so I put a pretty provocative post on LinkedIn saying in the comments, instead of somebody raping their partner because that's the only person they can have sex with, if their partner is not interested, they can go and see somebody else for that and still be with their partner if that's agreed upon. This is part of polyamory. So that's just there as something for people to see that that's in some of us. Some of us need to have that. It's not variety, but maybe for some people it is. It's just they have many needs that can't be met by the one person. And how do we open that up? And it's different from swinging, where swinging to me is I want to be with other people. So I want to make my husband be with other people so I don't feel so bad about wanting to be with other people. But this is just pure ownership. I need something that you don't want to provide, and I still need it, and I don't want to do it behind your back. So let's have a talk. So that's what that to me is really about. Number 17, astrology through the seasons. So this is just kind of like taking level 1 and making it really, really basic in 2 hours to see if this is something you jive with. Like somebody who is born in the fall is different from somebody who's born in the spring or the summer or whatever. And it's interesting because myself, I was born in October and now I'm born in April. And I've been feeling like I've been born in April for a long time. I don't feel like a fall person. I'm not all about that duty and tradition and everybody coming home. I'm ready to go. Like I think school should end in March when the sun is out and we can all go run and be free. And I think when they change the times, that's deliberate to make us not feel that it's time for something else. It's not time for continuing to do the 9 to 5 all the time. So that's there. Enlightenment, can you miss your boat? There's a lot of people who think that enlightenment means certain things, and it's a little bit of clarity on that through astrology. The sign you hate. So everybody, not everybody, I'll speak for myself. There are signs that I don't like, and usually it's because there's something in my chart I need to look at. So that's that kind of stuff. Looking at trauma, particularly suicide, as having being written in the stars. That's pretty much what we talked about in the last 2 videos, this video and the last one. If something happened in your first 90 days, so this is about projections, and in the modality Find Your Truth, it says everything in your life is a repeat of something else. So if you have an issue at conception, an issue at birth, an issue at 6 months pregnancy, it's just going to keep hopping and hopping and hopping and hopping through your life. And so this is the same thing from an astrology perspective. If something happens on your 4th day of life, well, let's look at your 4th year and see what might occur then, or vice versa. Something happened at 4, well, did something happen at day 4? Do you ever feel completely backwards? That actually could be my walk-in situation where I don't feel like I need to retrograde when everybody retrogrades. I don't feel like I need to cozy in when everybody And I think that that's just because I wasn't aligned with who I have become and have been for a while. Number 23 is what we just did, the walk-in. Number 24, expanding your gifts and your risks. So that's Jupiter. Jupiter expands everything, but you have to keep Jupiter in check or you will get obese on everything. And 25, we all have things in our lives that we wish she hadn't done and we don't understand. And so if we look past the 3D judgment of, oh my God, you're such a bad person for doing that, and look at what happened during that time, what kind of pressure were you under that made that happen? And, you know, I've had some pretty harsh things happen to me recently, and I'm growing as a person as a result, and it still hurts. But sometimes that's written in the stars for you to, like when my grandfather said, you were never going to leave. We had to take him from you. Um, those things are there. So these are some ideas. You can go to this is yourlifeplan.ca, courses and workshops. You can click on this link and go to my LinkedIn page where I share all kinds of stuff that comes to mind, and anything that's on there can become a healing topic. So yeah, and then this last little bit, just because we're here, is having kids who are 1, 5, and 8. There are very few practitioners they're willing to go to. And so this is to support you as the parent to care for your children. Whatever I can support you with to learn, or to connect you with somebody who can support you to learn. There's some ideas down here: restore chi, energy, awareness, divine healing, raising consciousness. That's a free app actually on my website. And find your truth. I'm happy to do that because your kids want you. They don't want a practitioner. They don't want to be kicked out and sent to school. Well, unless home's really bad, but let's just assume you wouldn't be watching that if this is the case. And then I do one-on-one apprenticeship. So I just signed on my first student for one-on-one apprenticeship, and I'm really excited about that because then it's all catered to that person and what do they need to learn in order to grow, to improve themselves, to feel better, to support others. So that is a little bit extra that I wasn't totally planning on doing. And I think that is it. So thank you very much for your time, and maybe our paths will cross. Okay, take care of yourself. Bye.